Alright, now that we kind of took a long drawn out video for an addition equation, we're going to zoom through the next three in this one video. So stay with me. Let's say we have a problem, y minus 5 equals 13. Okay, this right here is a subtraction problem. Because it is subtraction, the opposite is what we're going to need to do to get y by itself. We're going to have to add 5. So we're going to add 5 to 5 to make that 0 and add 5 to the other side, because whatever we do to one side we have to do to the other to keep it equivalent. So now I calculate what I have written, and negative 5 plus 5 is 0. I bring my y down, my equal sign travels down, and 13 plus 5 is 18. This is why it's really important to write the operation that you're using, because a lot of times if you don't know what you're doing. You forgot. So make sure we write our operation so that way we can just say it out loud to ourselves. But is this the answer you thought about from the beginning? Hope so. Let's check. So remember, our check step, we're going to write this exact equation, but instead of our variable, we have open set of parentheses. Right, so we're going to check 18 by putting 18 in. 18 minus 5 would be 13, and if you and your friends both have $13, you have the same amount. Yay! Alright, now we're going to move on to another type of equation. Well, mathematicians are lazy, so anytime we don't have to write something, we don't. So, right here we have a coefficient and a variable, and when those numbers and variables are written like this, that's multiplication. So this problem is a multiplication problem. So in order to solve, we're going to have to do the opposite of that. The opposite of multiplication is division. So this line right here, we're going to divide by the number that's being multiplied. So we're going to divide by 2. So you can do that a couple ways. You can multiply by 1/2, or we can write it as a fraction, which fractions are just division problems. So get in the habit of writing like this because it comes in handy a lot or further down the road. So we can't just write it, we have to actually calculate it. 2 divided by 2 is 1, leaving us with 1x, or just x. Remember, mathematicians are lazy. So when we don't have to write something, we don't. Our equal sign comes down, and 2 goes into 18 9 times. Is that the number you thought about at the beginning? Let's check. Remember, when we check, we're going to write the exact same equation, but instead of our variable, we're going to write an open set of parentheses. So we have 2 open parentheses equals 18. So we're going to check the value we think x is, 9. Well, this tells us 2 times 9, 18, and we leave the right-hand side the same. If you have $18 and your friend has $18, do you have the same amount? Of course you do. That's right. Alright, the last type of problem. This is a division problem. It's written like a fraction, and fractions are just division problems. So, in order to solve, we're going to have to do the opposite of divide, which would be multiply by what it's being divided by. So multiply by 6. We can do this a few different ways. What we like to do, the further along we get in math, is write it off to the side. Multiply by 6. Multiply by 6. If you remember, in our last equation that was multiplication, those parentheses meant multiply. So writing this is just the same as writing times 6. This is more sophisticated and it will help you further along. So now we have to actually calculate what we have written. Well, 6 divided by 6 right here is 1, leaving us with 1w. But remember, mathematicians are lazy, and we don't have to have that 1 there. So we don't write it, because we're lazy. And this is where we get a lot of confusion. A lot of people think that because we divided on this side, we divide on this side, even though that's not what we have written. We have written 3 times 6. So we need to multiply 3 times 6. So we take 6, 12, 18, and we get 18. Is that the number you thought of at the beginning? Let's check. Remember, our check step, we're going to write the first and original equation, but instead of the variable, we're going to write open parentheses. Open parentheses divided by 6 equals 3. What are we checking? We're checking to see if 18 works. Substitute 18 in. 6 goes into 18. 6, 12, 18. 3 times. If you have $3 and your friend has $3, do you have the same amount of money? Of course you do. So since that's true, this is correct.